At the start of the 20th century, it was commonly considered that Venus was like this. Well, perhaps not exactly like this. They thought the planet named after the goddess of beauty and love would be a tropical paradise with rivers and lush vegetation. And why wouldn't they? After all, Venus is much like the Earth, only a little smaller and closer to the sun, so it would be warmer and more desirable. Astronomers had seen that it had clouds, so there would be warm rainfall producing thick forests and jungles. This spawned a wealth of stories involving lizard men or green humanoids living in a tropical idyll or warm, wet jungles. My favourite of these was Dan Dare in the Eagle comic, who would battle the Treens of Venus and their leader, the Mekon. But astronomers couldn't see through the clouds to see any surface features, and they didn't know what to expect. So they decided to find out. In 1962, Mariner 2 was launched and did a flyby of Venus. It discovered a world that was very different from that hoped for. It had high surface temperatures, high pressure, and a carbon dioxide atmosphere. It was the carbon dioxide atmosphere that had created a world that had got out of control. The greenhouse effect meant that the heat from the sun had got trapped on the surface and got hotter and hotter and hotter to the 460 degrees centigrade it now is. Now my oven only gets to a maximum of 250 degrees centigrade, so 460 degrees centigrade is hot enough to melt lead, to melt zinc, and is also the same temperature at which my grandmother is prepared to go outside without wearing a coat. And the atmosphere is so thick, it's 93 times that of Earth's. Imagine walking around with almost 100 of you on your shoulders. That's what it would feel like. But still nobody knew what the surface of Venus looked like. But then the Soviet Union began their Venera program, Venera being the Russian word for Venus. But after a few malfunctions and failures, finally they managed a soft landing in 1970 with Venera 7, which only lasted under half an hour before giving up. However, in 1975, Venera 9, in the hour that it stayed alive on the surface of Venus, became the first spacecraft to return an image from another planet. It showed sharp, uneroded rocks, and Venera 10 in the same year achieved the same and sent back another picture. Venera 13 in 1982 took lots more pictures. Some of these are even in colour. Venera 14 did the same. Neither of them managed more than a couple of hours on the planet before having to give up due to the immense pressure and heat. And there have been no more visits to the surface of the planet since then, and I don't think there's a rush to go back. It might be named after the goddess of beauty and love, but there's nothing beautiful or lovely about it. Perhaps they should have gone with one of the ancient names by which Venus was known. The name meant the bringer of light. Its name? Lucifer. Oh look, it's a butterfly.